All right, guys, so we got Brad Wartman from Air Power Services here with me. He's been my kind of go-to guy on helping me design and build out and install the system. So I'm going to let him kind of take over and let him talk about the benefits of the Kaeser Smart Pipe and why we went with everything that we did, right?
Thanks, Adam. So when we started this quest, it was basically a small job shop, machining center, non-production or low production shop, certainly not 100 CNC machines running with different miscellaneous things. So from a compressor standpoint, we really knew that there wasn't a constant demand there. So the long term of the air tower style machine gives you the benefit of the duty cycle that the rotary provides, but you don't have the full rotary cost because the machine has the ability to run as a start-stop piston type air compressor in these low production applications. If you were running 12, 14, 16 hours a day like many of these production facilities, we would have probably gone a little bit different. The Smart Pipe system from Kaeser is a Smart Pipe Plus, is actually a kind of a no-brainer for an application like yours. The piping is lightweight, it's easy to work with, it cuts with very, very basic tools, tubing cutters, deburring, and very safe. It's flexible. There's a lot of benefits of the piping systems for small systems.
Nice smooth bore through there.
The aluminum creates a smooth bore. It's a blue powder coated, which is consistent with compressed air and the color coding of compressed air in our industry. Total of 10 different sizes of piping available. Your application, we more than sufficiently handled with a 1-inch header, or 25 millimeter, as we like to call it.
Yeah.
And then we did your drops throughout the shop in 20 millimeter or 3/4 inch. So very easily handles, and the ability that you want to move the location or you want to add into, we simply cut into the tubing or we simply pull the tubing off the wall. The stuff mounts to the wall with a very simple bracket with a pipe clip on it. It goes on, goes off.
Yeah.
It'll go into drywall, it'll go into steel. Anything that we can come into, beam clamp, beam mounting, we've done that. So it's very, very easy to work with. And the 1-inch stuff is very non-intrusive. You know, this stuff weighs about 8 or 12 pounds a stick, I believe, somewhere in that neighborhood. So very consistent. This is an example with a wall bracket. In your shop, we did some quick disconnects where needed, or maybe tied into a hose reel with a push lock or compression fitting. So very, very simple. Designed with I believe it's a 50-year O-ring warranty that they call.
Wow.
We seal with the O-ring first, and then we do a conventional compression or bite ring style fitting to lock it into place for longevity. So
that helps keep the pipe from trying to pull out of the...
Correct. So if it wasn't retained, the pipe would actually try to push itself apart under pressure.
Yeah, and then so we have the ability to, anywhere I would need to in the future, add another drop. If we had a machine somewhere I need a little bit of air, we can just simply go over there and add your this guy right here, right? The
This
90.
is a larger branch, right? We refer to it as a quick bracket. This particular one is a 40 millimeter by 25. Like in your header, if we decided that we wanted to do a 25 to 20, just do a drop, we can make that tie-in leak-free very easily and conservatively in about 10 minutes. From piping cleanup, vacuuming them up, fittings and filings, or pieces of aluminum, and you're done. It's very simple to do in a header configuration. Essentially, you're going to locate it, pull the cap off, and you'll mark the pipe where you want it. There's a hole saw that's used that fits exactly in the hole. Drill the hole, clean it out, deburr it, and you're off to the races. Lock it in place. So very reliable, very safe.
So how long have you guys been installing this type of piping?
I would say probably are the better part of 10 years now. Time gets away from you. I would say somewhere between 10 and 12 years. Being in the compressor business, we've been around for 34 years this year. This is our 21st year with Kaeser. This design or aluminum piping system probably been strong for 10 years, continuing to get stronger. We had other piping systems that we were doing. Most of your jobbers are going to be familiar with ProPressed or crimp design, if you will, copper systems. Very good system, nothing wrong with it. This is another option in that arsenal. There are some benefits that we like for this particular situation, as well as even crimped stainless steel, soldered different scenarios. And as we started to embrace this product and touch it and hold it and feel it, we realized that it is a viable solution in our industry. Because when you get to the larger piping systems, this is an example of what some of the larger systems look like in 3 and 6 inch. This is really where the cost saving comes in.
Okay.
Because traditionally this is a welded connection. So we're making these connections with, sometimes in the bigger stuff you'll use a chop saw to cut it, but you can do it with a tubing cutter. Essentially you're still cutting, deburring, and putting aluminum fittings together. You're not measuring, cutting, then actually fitting, and then welding, and in 6 inch, probably making a minimum of 3 passes in a 6 inch, and then hopefully it doesn't leak.
Yeah.
We can create that complete T-junction like you see here in the time that you could cut, and probably before you could ever get back on the scaffold and refit. No burn permits, very, very safe, very usable, and becoming very, very popular year by year. So,
very cool.
Yep.
Well, I know I'm real happy with it. It looks like a really good quality system, and I have no doubt that you probably would recommend this system over something like PVC, right?
And
I know a lot of people like to use PVC pipe, but it's risk that it explodes on you.
There's a tremendous a degree of risk with PVC, and yes, you're absolutely right. PVC seems great, it reads great on paper, but the reality is that it isn't great. And there's a couple of problems with PVC. A lot of times it doesn't meet the state or local code for compressed air piping. So that's always a concern. The probably harshest part of it is that it becomes brittle in time. PVC's commonly buried in the ground, has no UV exposure, has very low heat exposure, and has very low pressure exposure. Even though it's stamped right on the pipe that it's rated for a specific pressure that is most of the time in line with what our shop type compressed air systems are at 150 to 200 PSI on the very high end. So it becomes brittle, it breaks. There are dozens of instances out there where you'll see PVC sharded and broke apart. Another common thing is the glue. There's a chemical bond that creates the seal. The lubricants in the compressed air systems sometimes are not, there's a diester most commonly, it creates the problem, and this was found many years ago. You don't see as many diesters in some of this stuff now, but it would break the glue seal down, and you would actually see the whole fitting blow out. Maybe you didn't get a good primer, or the glue didn't get a good seal. It worked in there and it created a gel, and under pressure it would just blow the whole T or branch or line off. And then most of us have all seen that shard fitting, and
I've
know a wood shop or a cabinet shop, whatever.
I've experienced it myself. Actually, I know at least twice. I think it happened 2 to 3 times where I worked before that it exploded and the joint came out. And not only does that scare you, you got shrapnel going through the air, and it scares everybody because it's so loud when it happens.
Tremendous amount of energy stored in compressed air. This option 100% eliminates that concern. Again, it's an aluminum, extruded aluminum, and our tubing, and it's very smooth bore, very clean. Another common thing with small shops, especially where maybe the facility was owned by someone else, maybe the end user rented it for whatever application, their compressor didn't have any type of drying or air treatment, as we like to call it, no filtration, and you may see Schedule 40 black iron or galvanized pipe on the wall. One of the biggest things that happens there, the pipe, because it's not as smooth of a bore internally as the aluminum system is, it doesn't have the ability to flow as much air.
Right.
Probably not as much of a concern in a jobber like yourself. When you get to this larger stuff, 1.5 inch, 2 inch, 3, 6 inch, that's a huge concern, because the difference of running a 5 and 8 or 6 or 8 inch piping header may be thousands of dollars, as well as if there's 3 or 4 PSI pressure drop in a continuous system, that's a tremendous energy cost. So with a system that uses thousands of CFM, you will find you're either black iron. Commonly what you're going to see there is you're going to see pipe scale and black iron. It's always going to find its way to the outlets. Normally with a black iron or threaded system, if you will, you're going to use conventional T's. So the common theory there is that you would have a traditional drop. So what happens is that all the metal fines are in the piping. They find their way to the low points, either clogs a quick disconnect up or eventually gets into the tooling. Maybe it's a premature tool failure. Maybe it's a more catastrophic failure in like a water jetting application or something like that. And that is another benefit of the Smart Pipe Plus system, where our branch lines, if you'll notice, it has a kind of a quirky look to it. You can see it from the side. That's nice. The air does not travel straight from the header out the bottom. We actually pull the air out of the side of the piping, so any fines in the bottom of the piping will stay in the piping, and then it comes off the side and then travels to your point of use application.
Yeah.
So there are benefits there. Galvanized piping tends to grow inside, so you will have points where it almost looks like, I refer to it as like you might see in a cavern where stalagmites and pipes are growing together. That's a real thing. It happens, and if you open up a 3 or 4 year old air system, especially one that's had any type of wet, nasty, oily exposure to it, that seems to just grow and strive off of that. So.
Yep. I've seen that before too, and it's not good. So we don't have to worry about our trash, you know, coming through this system
Correct.
right here and then getting out into our machines or our air tools or just, you know, our basic shop air. We don't have pieces blowing out anywhere.
10 different pipe sizes, pretty much any configuration of traditional fitting, whether it be a straight coupling, a 45, this is an example of the 20 millimeter 45, the 3/4 inch stuff. The most common question, anytime we install it or we're installing it for maybe providing to a customer, they do a takeoff and say, hey, here's a list of what I need. How do I get from my compressor or my traditional NPT connection over or back to NPT connection?
Yeah.
Every size we offer an adapter to get back to and from. So
That makes it convenient. You go straight from your tubing to MPT. Put whatever kind of fittings you need in there.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Not a big deal at all.
Yeah, awesome.
For tightening the connections, there's a variety based on the sizes. Kaeser come up with a specific length of spanner type tool that they liked for the essentially the torque setting.
Yeah.
You're only going to get it tight based on the length of the tool. So you're able to use their tools if you like. I have found that traditional tools will also do the job, but these are slotted. These do fit the flat nuts,
Yeah.
and they do a pretty nice job all the way around. So there's options out there for that. Very traditional items though, no special tools really needed like you would do in the crimping side of the smaller stuff. With exception of the larger piping systems, there is a crimp lug in those systems. A little bit of a different animal than for a shop year.
A little bit different than what we're doing right here.
Correct.
But
most of the time in a facility or a plant, if you will, that would use a piping system that's this size, they already own those tools for other mechanical needs within the plant or the facility.
So can someone watching this video, can they purchase this and install it themselves?
Yes. Very easy, very common for us to sell a bill of goods to a customer.
Okay.
Whether it be a new facility, an expansion, an old facility that's upgrading. Hey, we want to put some piping system in our facility. We think we need 800 square foot, or excuse me, 800 linear feet of pipe, 12 90s, 4 T's, and 3 caps. As an example, my first thought on that is no problem. It's very easy to do. We generally will take some fittings with us. We'll take a scrap piece of pipe, do a cut, show the customer how to do it. Kind of my running joke is that most customers are going to be as good as we are at it by the time they complete their piping system.
Right.
So it's very easy to do. There's no problem with that. The benefit of coming to someone in the compressed air business, well, if you're going to buy the Smart Pipe Plus product, you're going to buy it through the Kaeser channels, whether it be private distribution like our company, or whether it be a Kaeser-owned store. And by doing that, you're going to get there are going to be some questions asked. Somebody's going to want to know what you're doing with the piping. And while some of us sometimes don't want to be challenged, it's going to generally almost always benefit us. Because there may be a way that we can save you some money over what you thought you wanted, or hey, You don't need 1 inch because this piping system has such a good flow coefficient. We can use 20 millimeter or 3/4 inch, or hey, we've done this in the past. I had a customer over here that used this. Have you considered that? All of those different things. While we all tend to want to figure it out on our own, I'm certainly struggle with that on the daily. There are some benefits, generally almost always value-added input that's going to help with making these decisions.
Well, that's one of the things that I appreciated about Brad whenever he come over here. I just told him what I wanted. I said, hey, for one, I know I want a Kaeser rotary screw because I saw them firsthand at FabTech, sold me on it, and I said, this is what I want to do. So he helped me design the system that we landed on, you know, the size compressor and then the piping.
And your system is very common among low production jobbers. You need the air quality. You like the simplicity of all-in-one, if you will.
Yeah.
Compressor, dryer, tank. Hey, yeah, we'll add a filter to it, clean the air up. Hey, let's go ahead and put a tank, you know, elsewhere in the system so that.
That was something we discussed too.
Right. So what we discussed or decided on with your air system, you basically gave us a list and said, hey, this is what I'm putting in. We're able to go through the list, look at what's there, have a good feeling for how much air that will be consumed at any given time. The next question is, Adam, how many guys are you going to have on each one of these machines?
Right.
If you have 1 to 2 guys, the 5 horsepower system giving you 20 plus CFM is very, very sufficient. Had you been in the 4 guys, hey, we're going to be, we're small, but we're high production as much as possible. These things are going to be cutting three shifts a day. We probably would have turned into a 10 horsepower SM style package. And
that's something that we can always upgrade to later if we ever need to, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And with most, can't speak for all, but with most Kaeser distributors, we're always happy to, one, we're going to suggest or recommend, hey, keep what you have, replace it before it's reached its end of service life. And that's somewhat calculatable. We can give you some good ideas. From there, make it your backup, because there is going to be a Saturday that you want to run that the average retail customers or businesses, you know, they're not there. They're available, but they're not there. Or, hey, buy 2. Let the old machine come on and trim every once in a while, or lots of different options to go there. So from there, your system was kind of fun because from a sizing standpoint, we get to introduce you to the capacity of what a rotary will create versus what maybe we're used to seeing in advertising on some of the smaller piston type air compressors out there that we've all experienced. Maybe a heavy commercial use or homeowner that's used in a light commercial application. The industrial Kaeser unit, even all the way down at 5 horsepower, that's a verified capacity, which is a huge factor for you. You know exactly how much air you're going to get out of the machine. For us as the selling and servicing provider, we're able to say, okay, Mr. Adam needs about a high of 12 CFM, I'm picking a number, a high of 12 CFM, a little bit of fudge factor there. I feel very confident giving him a 5 horsepower rotary that is designed to sit and run 100% continuous duty cycle, providing that 20 plus CFM of capacity. A piston air compressor, we all read where, it's suitable for up to 8,000 hours. I've seen some that say 40,000 hours. Some say 100% duty cycle. Our company tends to use the old school mentalities. There are applications where the rotary isn't the best, and if you apply these machines at these hard duty cycles, you're, number one, not going to get the capacity out of them, and number two, you're going to find that you don't get the longevity out of them, and 3, you are going to get the noise out of them. It's just a completely different animal. And I think that in your application, and even on up into the light industrial world, the space-saving design, the ability to have a quiet option that's clean air inside the building, out of the weather, the office manager's not complaining about the air compressor running all the time. Those are all benefits. So those are just great things.
And that was one of the questions that I had asked Brad during the install, was like, hey, is this system that you installed good for other shops the same exact system? And your answer was yes. It's a good quality industrial air system.
Two most common questions in our industry for 50 horsepower and below applications is it quiet? Yes.
I know I wanted a quiet compressor this
Right.
time.
Can you work on it? Will I be able to call you to work on it? And
Yeah.
the answer is yes. And quiet certainly has a lot of positive things. It's nice to be able to go to your office, take care of the administration side of the business while someone else is working, and not feel like that you're getting beat in the head with the noise. But at the same time, to know that if you have a problem with a piece of equipment, there is someone locally, no matter where in the world with the Kaeser product,
Right.
you can pick up the phone and you can call and find professional, reliable service. Kaeser has done a very good job of that, in our opinion.
That's good to hear.
We operate in the local southern panhandle of, northern panhandle of Florida, southern Alabama, Mississippi area, where you're based out of primarily. But we have working rapport with other Kaeser distributors and other Kaeser factory-owned stores, and the mindset is the same. They want to see the product succeed out there, and they want to support the product.
Well, I think that's going to about wrap up what we wanted to discuss then.
Cool.
Yeah.
We thank you for the business. We hope that you're pleased with the air system.
So far, I'm very pleased with it. I think it's a very good-looking machine. The install is great, and I know it's going to work excellent here, and I'm really happy with it. I think the noise level is right where I was hoping it would be and where I would expect it, and I am very happy.
Good.
And I know you guys are basically right around the corner, so if something happens, I can call you guys, and they'll be able to come over here and help me make sure that it's serviced as it should be, and if there's any kind of maintenance issues with it, you guys will be over here to help me out.
Yep. So 100%.
Well, I appreciate you helping me out, and
Yes,
thank
sir.
you for helping to discuss a little bit of the Smart Pipe system for all the viewers watching. I wanted them to kind of get a little bit of insight on what the benefits were of this, and I think that's it, man.
We appreciate it, and we look forward to the questions.
All right, man.
Thanks a lot.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and we will see you again very soon.
Thank you.